Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Beefer, and today we have a different style of video. Today's video is going to be a tier list. Like all good content creators, it is up to me to take advantage of the Hallmark holidays, so obviously today's tier list is going to be Valentine's Day themed. And the title of the tier list is going to be Video Game Waifus and Husbandos. In the spirit of Valentine's Day, obviously I want to share my opinions on some of the wide array of video game characters out there and where I would put them on the spectrum of being a husbando slash waifu, or would I ghost them? So without further ado, if you guys want to enjoy today's video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Happy watching. Alright guys, so to start off our tier list, we have the light-skinned down bad Goku himself, Brock. Now, as a kid, I really felt bad for Brock. He had zero game, and he got none of the girls. Nurse Joy always did him bad, and that just wasn't right. Because as it turns out, Brock is pretty successful. He's a gym leader, he's a Pokemon breeder, and he's a Pokemon doctor. So, to reward the man's hard work, we gotta give him the status of Husbando. Next up, we have the mommy herself, Chun-Li. I mean, what more needs to be said about Chun-Li? She's hot, she's an Interpol officer, and she's a martial arts expert. She has legs that could crush a watermelon, and if we're being real, she could probably crush... Actually, you know what? Let me not go there. Let me dial it back. Chun-Li's a waifu. Next up, we have a weird one, Cooking Mama. Cooking Mama's weird in the sense that she already has a husband and kids. Yeah, that's definitely, a real no-go zone there, right? Despite that, I've heard that she makes a really good pork rice bowl, and if that's the case, I might need to make an exception and wreck a home. Obviously, I'm not that evil, but at the very least, I would ask Cooking Mama out to dinner. You know, maybe she could make me something, or maybe she has a good recommendation to a restaurant, so I think that would be a good time. Now, I'm not too hip to the going-ons of the Halo franchise, but there's one thing that I do know, and that is Cortana is a certified bad. Now, if you look at her player model in Halos 1, 2, and 3, she looked kind of mid. But in Halo 4, bro.
You gonna make me act up. You gonna make me do something I'm gonna regret.
Those devs were on some deviant art timing. I'm talking Mystique from X-Men, Elise from Genshin Impact. Now, she might only be a digital AI, but I can give her 8 gigs of RAM if you know what I'm saying. Alright. I need a therapist, because that was too horny. But to say the least, Cortana's another waifu. Next up, we have a lesser known character, and that's David King from the Dead by Daylight game. Now, looking into David's lore was actually pretty interesting. He's a former athlete, he comes from money, and from what I can tell, he's a bit of a party animal. So he sounds like a good time. And if you look at one of his skins in the game, he looks like a crazy blend between the Punisher and Steve Irwin. And anybody that looks like old Stevie Boy deserves a dinner date. So for that, David King is being asked out to dinner. Coming up next, we have the ape, the myth, the legend, DK Donkey Kong. Now, right off the bat, DK and I have a connection. He's a 3rd generation Kong, much like I'm a 3rd generation Beefer. He's also a great uncle to Diddy Kong. He takes him on all his adventures, shows him the ropes, and makes sure he stays safe. And I would love to join them on their wild adventures, and for that, I would have to put Donkey Kong in the LTR, that are known as the long-term relationship category. I think we could be really good friends. Okay, so now let's talk about Dr. Eggman from the Sonic franchise. My man really thought he was doing something with that Jamie Hyneman and Gene Shalit looking mustache. His fits give me Canadian Mountie vibes, and he's built like a Tootsie Pop, so just based off of that, we gotta ghost him. Now we have the ultimate dude bro, Duke Nukem. Duke is sort of what you get when you mix a frat bro, Rambo, Ivan Drago, and a teaspoon of Mountain Dew. But with that being said, I do have to give Duke some credit. Every time you see a picture of him, and the entire time during the course of the game, the man looks like he has a harem surrounding him. That's pretty impressive. So at the very least, I can slide in the man's DMs, maybe get some dating advice from him. So yeah, we are putting Duke Nukem in the slide in DMs category. Next up, we have the God of War, Kratos. Now, Kratos looks how Corpse Husband sounds. Literally, the man is a walking 808. He's killed Medusa, he's killed Hydras, he's killed Ares, he has killed Zeus himself. He's a good dad and an even better character, so for that, he's a Husbando. Next up, we have Lady D. Where do you even start with Lady D? You know a character is hot when you don't even need to look up the Rule 34 or the DeviantArt. She's literally like the next iteration of Bowsette. I'm not really a fan of the Resident Evil franchise, nor am I really a fan of any horror games, but if they started coming out with characters that look like Lady D, I might need to make an exception. Might be giant like The Undertaker, but I could take her for a last ride. Alright, not only was that kind of corny, I was a little too thirsty. I need to get some water or something. Say the least, she's another waifu. Next up, we have Lara Croft, and I'm not talking about the modern iteration of Lara Croft in the 3D universe or whatever. I'm talking about PS1 milk pint Lara Croft. She has sex appeal, she's intelligent, she's adventurous. It's like, what more do you need? And I'm also sure she has an interesting story or two to tell, and that she seems like the type of woman that you want to lock down for a while. So for that, I'd put her in the long-term relationship category. Next up, we have a certified menace, and you guys know him. We're talking about Matt. Now, if you've ever played Wii Sports Resort, all those classic games, you know there is one guy in that game that has brought tears to more children than anyone else, and that's Matt. I remember I used to play Wii Sports Tennis, thinking that, you know, have a good game, you know, just... And then you see Matt step on the court. I swear to God, they had Roger Federer do some mocap for this guy. There's no way he should be that good. I can't even put him in the ghosting category because he'd get competitive and try to out-ghost me. But for that, we gotta put Matt in his own category. We're gonna label this category Menace. We're gonna drop him in there. Next up, we got the triple OG of the Pokemon world, Professor Oak. Now, despite the early praises, as a kid, I was always kind of skeptical of Professor Oak. What kind of old man sends a little kid in the woods to a strange town to deliver a random parcel? Meanwhile, he's probably back at my house, smashing my mom, and I'm oblivious, right? Like, what do I look like? My name is not Little Red. So since Oak might be secretly on demon timing, we gotta ghost him. Next up, we got Princess Useless herself, Princess Elise. Now, for those of you that are not aware, Sonic 06 was a dumpster fire of a game. Obviously, some people may enjoy it, but the masses completely hate the game. And I'm not saying that Princess Elise is useless because she was in the game. She's her own dumpster fire. So during the early stages of the game, she absorbed this thing called the Flames of Disaster. And the only way the Flames of Disaster could escape her body are through her tears. And obviously, this happened when she was 7, right? The game starts out when she was 17. You're telling me from the age of 7 to 17, this girl didn't shed near a single tear? Her dad died. Didn't shed a tear. She got that awful looking haircut. Didn't shed a tear. I shed a tear when the wind gets in my eyes. And you're telling me she hasn't cried? But that's not even the end of it. During the course of the game, she gets captured a total of 5 times. 5. That is worse than probably any other damsel in distress in video game. And for that, we gotta ghost her. Next up, we have Rosalina, arguably the unnecessary 3rd or 4th, considering Princess Toadstool, princess to the Marioverse. Now, she's not like Peach or Daisy in the sense that they can fight, race, do a number of things in the Marioverse. You know, she's just a princess with daddy issues and an obsession with stars. It's crazy because it's sort of like life imitating art in a way. On top of that, she's just generally a bad person. So you know in Super Mario Galaxy how the Loomis is always asking you for star bits? A star asking for stars to eat? That's cannibalism. So she is mistreating the very people she rules over, and they are having to descend to cannibalism to survive. That is beyond Black Air Force behavior. She's as much a menace as Matt is. And for that, obviously, she goes in the menace tier. Next up, we have Samus, and man, I had no clue there was a dime underneath all that body armor. she's fire, to say the least. However, she seems to lack a personality. And for me, I think that's very important. You know, you can't just be with a person that's just a pretty face or just interesting to look at. You need some mental stimulation. Maybe if I ask her out to dinner, you know, I could get to know her better. She might open up over a nice cheese spread and some wine. I don't know, something classy. Moving right along, we have the Queen of Blades herself, Sarah Kerrigan. Now, Sarah doesn't look too bad in her Queen of Blades and human form. Her backstory is super interesting and also kind of tragic, but with all that being said, I would put her in the long-term relationship category, but she is a literal cosmic force. I think that would make her pretty volatile, so I can't really commit to a long-term relationship with her. So maybe, again, I'd probably ask her out to dinner. Now we got my boy Slippy Toad. Before we move on, I will not accept any Slippy Toad slander. Slippy Toad is constantly disrespected among gamers, or mainly, obviously, fans of the Star Fox series. He's always considered, oh, the damsel in distress, oh, he complains too much, he always needs help from Fox or whatever. Little do these guys know, all the other characters are asking for help too. Like, you can't just focus in on one guy, right? Sure, he's not the most significant character. He's probably one of the most useful characters, secretly useful characters in the whole series. He's a technician. He invented a lot of the vehicles that the team uses. You gotta show him some love. You gotta give him his flowers, you know? So, for that, I gotta show my boy some support and put him in the LTR category. Now we got, this weirdo, Mr. Tingle. Just by the name alone, I'd probably run for the hills, but the guy's been a pretty useful character throughout the Legend of Zelda franchise. He was pretty useful in Majora's Mask. I don't think I would want to be seen out in public with a tiny filthy Frank. He also has an obsession with fairies, so there might be a screw or two loose. So just for that, I'd have to ghost him. Alright, and last but certainly not least, we have Widowmaker. Now, Widowmaker sort of scares me in the sense that she's like a more goth Lady D and a more trigger-happy Lara Croft. It kind of throws me off a bit, but she has legs for days, she looks good in a bodysuit, and her ult is pretty good. So I wouldn't ghost her. I think she's more deserving than a slide in the DMs. I even think that asking her out to dinner is a little bit too low. You know, I think she deserves a long-term relationship. So we're gonna throw her in the long-term relationship category. And that is our tier list, ladies and gentlemen. We have 5 people as waifus or husbandos. We have 4 people in long-term relationships, or we're asking them out to dinner. We're only sliding in Duke Nukem's DMs, and we're ghosting those people. And Matt and Rosalina should be in prison. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you for 26 subscribers. That's insane. We already eclipsed my goal for the end of the year, which was 25. So now we have to set a new one, and I'm thinking maybe 100. So obviously that's a very lofty goal, but I'm willing to work for it, you know? So if we manage to somehow, through the grace of God or whatever, eclipse 100 before the end of the year, might have to do like some type of giveaway or something just to show my thanks for the endless support. But it's exciting seeing the channel grow. But happy Valentine's Day. If you got that special someone, make sure you tell them that you love them, whether it's a family member, a partner, spouse, whatever. Make sure they know how much you love them. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you guys in the next one.